Hello BookTube, I'm Roz, and this is going to be another weekly reads, except it's 2 weeks worth of reading. I didn't get as much done during the holiday as I would have liked. I was doing other stuff. I got my garden sorted out. I hope I haven't been a bit preemptive because we still have a drought on, but it has been raining on and off at least once a week, just a little bit, and so I hope I haven't jumped the gun here, but I really wanted to get my garden fixed. It was bugging me that it looked like Sherwood Forest in the flower beds without trees. That was just the weeds. So I got in and I got stuck in and I got that sorted out. And then there was also this thing called aging, which will be for me tomorrow, but for you, because I'm only uploading this tomorrow because it still has to upload overnight, I am aging. I am turning that number 40. Yeah, it's one of those with a 0 in it. Those usually come with really mixed feelings. It's like, did I do in my 30s what I should have done? Did I just waste it? I should have read more books. Maybe I should have done some stuff. But those are existential questions for another video, and not this one. But yeah, I was busy planning a party. Because I actually did that. This introvert decided that she was going to invade her safe space with people. And I actually had really a good time. It was really nice how different people from different groups, they all just sat in a big circle and everyone chatted. It was fabulous. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. Not that I planned that part. I was expecting little groups everywhere. Anyway, let's get on with the wrap-up. Otherwise this video is going to go on forever. So the first book I'm going to talk about is One Good Turn by Kate Atkinson. Now this is the second in the Jackson Brodie series. I've now read all of them, I think. I've started at 3, then I went to 1, and now I've read 2. And this one, this is such a difficult book to give a synopsis on. In the opening chapters, there is a road rage incident that happens. And it's over 100 pages later where something almost happens. And at the end, it got quite exciting, or interesting at least. But what really kept me coming back to this book was the characters, because Kate Atkinson put together some really well-developed characters in this. I'm not going to say they were necessarily likable, but they were interesting and they were realistic for that. You know, you've got the dysfunctional relationships that everyone except the people involved can see are, you know, it's just not going to work. And yeah, so that part I enjoyed. But as far as the crime aspect of this, it's kind of made me appreciate the more poorly written crime novels, because at least it went somewhere. This one was more of a character study of people where bad things happened. And that's the cat coming in. Meow. So the next book is The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory, and this is the first in the Tudor series and the third in the Cousin series. Now this was my first introduction to Philippa Gregory, and I chose it because it was first in the Tudors, and I figured, well, that would give me quite a bit of reading. I didn't realize that possibly I should have started with the Queens later on, but anyway. So this story follows Jaquetta. She's the mother of Elizabeth Woodville, if that means anything to you. Doesn't quite mean anything to me yet, although I do know who Jaquetta is now. She was married to the Duke of Bedford when she was still very, very young, and he wanted to use her for her supernatural gifts, and I will give this the benefit of the doubt because in those days people were horribly superstitious, so there is a very good chance that she would have thought that she had supernatural gifts. Anyway, she was lucky her husband died early on in their marriage. Not that he was bad to her or anything, but he was basically using her for that, and there was no actual love in this relationship. And then she married Richard Woodville later for love. And there were a few things in this book that I really appreciated, or actually, to be totally honest, this book made me appreciate contraception. Good Lord, I lost count, but I was looking at reviews and I see somebody did the count and they said she had 16 children. I don't know how she had time to do anything else, because I don't know, 16 children. Thank you for inventing the pole science. Just thank you. Anyway, moving on. she basically became the lady in waiting, or the assistant of Margaret of Anjou, and it was an interesting story. The idea behind this really was that women who are looking for power end up in a sticky way, because it's a man's world, especially in those days, and because it starts off where you have Joan of Arc and what happens to her. And if you don't know, I won't spoil it. Go look at Wikipedia. And anyways, so it's, and then you had another woman who was looking for information, etc. And she, I think, tried some supernatural texts, or, people who were studying herbs and things like that for information as well. So she got tried and convicted as a witch. Not that she was burned, she died of old age, and Jaquetta was constantly concerned that, or at least Richard was as well, that she would be labelled a witch because of her genetics. She was apparently supposed to have been related to Melusina. She was a half mermaid or something. Yeah. I don't believe those things, so I just kind of move on past. Anyway, the next book I'm going to talk about is Tannie Maria and the Satanic Mechanic. Now, I loved the first book in this series. I read it last month, I think, or the month before, Recipes for Love and Murder by Sally Andrew. Now, this is a South African story. It's a bit of a, well, the first one was better described as a bit of a cozy mystery. This one follows on from it. To give you a bit of a synopsis, it starts off to do with the San, the Khoisan, the Bushman, although Bushman is now a less politically correct term around here, but I don't know if anybody would know who I'm talking about if I didn't say that, who have won a dispute in court regarding land reclaim and ancestral land, etc. And you meet this guy, the San, who won the case, and then just a few days later the Ka, which is the Klein Karoo Nasionale Kunstefees, which translates to be the Small Karoo National Arts Festival. It's an Afrikaans arts festival, so you have Afrikaans singers, you have your kiosks where you can buy knickknacks and things like that. And anyway, he is murdered there, he is poisoned. And that's kind of the first few chapters, that's the opening chapters. And then it's quite some time, it's almost halfway into the book, where the crime really gets picked up again. I mean, every now and again you'd hear a little bit, but Tannie Maria had nothing to do with it, or very little. And I found that rather disappointing, because her involvement in this crime worked out because of coincidence, and I don't like that. Go find the clues. Don't stumble upon something purely by accident. It doesn't really make for a crime novel. And my other complaint with this is that it was as though somebody had said to Sally Andrew about Recipes for Love and Murder, and they wouldn't be wrong with this, that what was the best part of the story was just how South African it was. The discussion of South African foods, the people, the culture, the lifestyle, the romance between her and Henk, things like that. And it was as though this book focused on that. There were more recipes in this book than in a blooming food magazine. And I felt that this was to stick with the food metaphor, or to keep with the theme of food at least. This had a lot more sauce and a lot less meat. Well, food, it was all the decoration that made the last book just so charming for me. It killed it. It smothered it. There wasn't enough food. There was far too much sauce. And yeah, it could also possibly be because I don't have a romantic bone in this body. So maybe all the romance and stuff also put me off too. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much. When it finally picked up and got going, it got interesting, but it was the last third of the story. So the pacing I felt was very off. The first half was so slow that I was a bit disappointed, to say the least. And then the last book that I read, Dark Fire by C.J. Sansom. This is the second book in the Matthew Shardlake series, and oh man, am I absolutely loving this. This is a historical crime novel. Matthew Shardlake is a lawyer, and in this book he is approached yet again by Thomas Cromwell, although this is not Hilary Mantel's Thomas Cromwell, this is a meaner Thomas Cromwell, but still it's Thomas Cromwell, and he has to go and find Darkfire. There was, what with the churches being demolished, etc., they found a recipe for this or something, and a demonstration model, and now he wants to use this as they're fearing Rome is going to go to war with them, etc. And oh, I really enjoyed this. Matthew Shardlake is such a nice guy to root for. He isn't your typical hero. He is a hunchback. He is all of 37, I think he is, and he said he was aging. I was mortified. I should have put a tab in there and read that quote to you because it's very relevant considering my aging process at the moment. But yeah, I just absolutely love this. I love the setting of it because the setting adds to the suspense. It's a day and age, a time where, you know, the opinions change quickly. And if you just say something that disagrees with what the king has said, you know, it's not a reprimand even, it's the stake with fire, just in case you didn't catch that, you know, or the slow hanging and then disembowelment. It's like, good lord, these people were vicious. So you've got suspense because of the setting, but he also really structures a really interesting book. So you're constantly looking for clues and you're going here and you're going there, and yeah, I will confess my heart broke a little at the end. But, you know, you can't rewrite history, so it was bound to happen at some point. So I suppose it's good. I've now got past this point. I can now look forward to book 3, which is over there and waiting for me, Sovereign, as soon as I can. But in the meantime, just to fill you in with what I'm currently reading, I am reading Making History by Stephen Fry, which I'm actually really enjoying. Stephen Fry's sense of humor and mine really work well together. And the things that he says, like commentary, just, you know, as a side thought about university life and things like that. I'm like, you've taken words out of my mouth. I have said stuff like that. So I'm really enjoying this. I know kind of where it's going, but I'm not too sure how it's going to get there. And then the other book that I'm reading, I have started on this, James Bond. And I'm really liking this as well. I'm really pleased that I picked up this one. This was a recommendation from my booksellers. You know, Kerry is amazing. And my love for Alex Rider has just made me love this a little bit more because, you know, Scorpia stood for, oh, what was it? I won't kill you with me standing here trying to figure out what those letters stood for, but it's the same thing in here with Spectre, and they stand for something. So I can see where Anthony Horowitz got the connection, because there's a very big similarity between the Alex Rider series and James Bond. I mean, girls with all their funny names, etc. And that was my camera full again. Why can't videos be, or making videos be easy? Anyway, I was going to say all the girls with their funny names, etc., all the gadgets. Although I don't know if he has the gadgets in the books. I haven't got to them yet. But I'm going to leave you there, go put this together now, because now I have to edit more time. Now I'm going to go to bed, so that tomorrow I can have a day of work on my birthday. Adulting sucks. I will see you soon with hopefully another wrap-up with books that I've read. Beginning of the term is always crazy, so don't expect one, you know, hold thumbs, but don't expect any for next week. I'll see you around. Bye.